We're going live. And we're live.
And I did it just in time. I got that camera off just in time.
Welcome, everybody. We're doing, what's this, part 3?
Yep, part 3, Len Kaczynski.
Yep, part 3 of the Len Kaczynski, a.k.a. Meows.
Yeah, more of the cat scratch bullshit.
Yeah.
But,
I believe we're still on day 1. And, yeah, I can't remember exactly where we left off last time, but I know it was on this page. And here's our panel. We've got Linda, lovely Linda.
Hello.
We've got Alice, the wee Scottish lass.
Hi, everybody.
And then we got the wise wizard on top of a mountain.
There we go.
How's everyone
That was a great
doing?
introduction. And we have the very lovely and wonderful Becca.
Ah, thank you. I hope
Hi,
everyone's
Donna.
doing. I hope
Hi,
everyone's
Jazz.
doing good. This.
You can't see me waving.
Huh?
I said they can't see me waving. I'm waving hi to all the people. I forgot my camera was off.
Oh, so just we do have 2 more spots open if anyone wants to join us. I posted here. Here's the StreamYard link to anybody who does want to jump on. I see Donna's in the audience if you still want to jump on. I know Jinx if you want to jump on. So we have 2 spots open if anybody wants.
Come on, Jinx. Pull your finger out your arse, love. Get your ass in here.
Tell her to get off her universe.
In here.
The universe can wait.
Come on.
She's into her game. That's okay. I understand. Calling you out, Jinx. Calling you out.
You know, if anybody does.
Who like that for you, I wonder? Oh.
Okay, Becca, we're ready for it. My anger is up there already, as you know.
All right.
What we were talking about. So, yep, I'm ready.
So just to let everyone also know, I just woke up like 15 minutes ago. Yeah. So my mind is still not 100% functioning yet. All right, but so let me see here. Okay, so basically, let me try to get in context of this is Robert Dvorak.
Dvorak.
What did he say? One word done.
Dvorak.
The last day of these episodes, the last day of this in like probably 2 years is when the day I'll finally get it right.
Yeah, it took me a while to. But go ahead. Eddie.
Unless the person standing in front of me saying it, and then I have that internal guilt of anyway.
Yeah. So you say RD.
So he's basically questioning Kaczynski. This is still day 1. He's talking about the tapes. So the last time we went off, and okay, I remember now. I left you all with some food for thought.
Yes.
About tape 3. There was a problem with the 3rd tape. And then Kaczynski had to email Kratz, and Kratz said that he was going to fix it for him.
Right.
I did talk to
Tracy
Keogh, thank you. And I did ask her her food for thought or her thoughts on the matter. She said that in another part in these transcripts, they talk about how it was fixed and how he did get the proper tape, and that tape that we have is the full tape. Now, That being said, that is her opinion. I don't really hold that same opinion. I'm
with you on that.
I kind of feel like there was something missing because it just seemed very choppy.
Yep.
But
I agree.
Irregardless, the important part still was there, where Brendan said they got into my head.
Right. Do we have any idea why they never allowed that very last few minutes to be played so that the jury could have heard that? Because that is a turning point 100% for Brendan, and it really kind of put it in perspective.
My understanding is that that was the deal that both the prosecutor and the defense attorney
The
made.
gentleman's agreement, I'll bet.
Yeah.
But
yeah,
okay, why would
we will admit this evidence, but we want to take out a certain part of it, and then they were arguing no, and then I think, but don't quote me on that one.
Yeah, I personally do not understand why a defense, it being so bad as it had played out thus far, why they would agree to not have the most important turning point that would probably have saved Brendan in court.
Oh yeah, yeah.
And the jury, 100% in my view, anyway. Of course, I only got it. We're all doing this afterwards, but I don't understand how the defense did not think that was so vital. That should have been for sure.
Tracy Keogh said to me, that was interesting. That I'm gonna say, she said that even though they replaced Kaczynski with a newer team, the newer team was not interested necessarily in defending Brendan either.
That's such fucking bollocks.
And not only that, showing that 20 minutes, the last 20 minutes of that video would taint the jury and put that doubt in their head that what Brendan's just sat and told them all might not be exactly true. So that's why the state never used it. I mean, I don't understand why the defense never used it as part of a coercion sort of scenario. I really don't understand that.
Yeah. Well, see, that's the thing is that you would think that if you were defending Brendan when he's 16 years old or 17 at the time, I think, and he's sitting there, it's like, what do you think as a logical thinking person that you would bring to the table as far as, I would bring experts showing confession.
I would have for sure showed that.
Well, actually, before we go any further with this, there are two things that strike anyone who's watching, obviously, from the very off. First of all, as soon as they walk out the door, Brendan says to his mum, "Oh, not really. It never happened. They got into my head."
Right.
Now, that is the first sign that he's retracted everything that's gone before. But the second thing that it shows is that it's the first time Brendan's in that room where he feels safe to speak freely.
Yes.
Now, that's what they didn't want to be seen. They didn't want to see. It shows up Brendan's vulnerability. It shows how totally alone he was in that interview room, and it goes some way to demonstrating
his own rational thinking came about, right? His own rational thinking.
They can call it an interrogation, they can call it an interview, they can call it what they like. They fucking bullied him to say what they wanted to hear.
Yes.
Right? That's that.
Right.
Look, and that's what they didn't want to be seen.
Yeah, you're right.
His interaction with his mum, when his mum walks in, the interaction that he has with his mum, it demonstrates.
It shows his own thinking. Not anybody else.
It suggests to me that he's absolutely shitting himself in that room with those two guys. He's terrified. He's got no idea what's going on. And the first time he feels safe enough to speak freely is when his mum's in there. And as soon as he does speak freely, those two bastards are back in there behind her.
Yeah.
I mean, hold on. Everybody,
I'll bet they didn't want that to be seen by the jury, did they?
Pause real quick. I want to introduce
Have you been pressuring him?
Oh, hi, Donna.
No, of course not. No, we don't do things like that. Not fucking much.
Hi, lovely Donna.
Hi, Donna.
Sorry, I'll let someone else have a go.
No.
She just entered. I don't know if she can hear us.
Just wanted to introduce Donna to the stage. I don't. She's not.
I 1,000% agree with Wizard. That Wayne was petrified. Absolutely petrified Aspender and Liger completely. Yeah. And as soon as Barb walked in there, you could see the relief, and he put his head in his horns, and he said, "They got into my head." That was his ease. And then as soon as they took him back into that room, he tenses up again. And then even Barb doesn't look at them, but she answers the questions. So to me, that means Barb was fair to them as well. So what the hell were they saying to fucking Barb? For her not looking at them, you know what I mean? But
that's when they said you don't want to come in here because he's going to say things. Isn't that yes, it is. You don't want to come in here because he's going to say things you might not want to hear. But to me, that part showed Brendan's own thoughts. Nobody fed it to him. Nobody told him. Nobody asked him. He just spoke from his heart and his head. And they fucked up. Not letting the jury see that. That killed Brendan right there.
Yeah.
Right.
So
I think if the jury had seen that, it might have gone some way to give them a better idea of what exactly Brendan went through in that interview room.
That to me showed he was not speaking for himself before, but now he was. That's what it told me. So if I was a jury member, that's what it would have told me then too.
So I just also, because you guys are right on topic of what they brought up next, what he asked him. If he remembers the part where Barb comes in, he wants to know why he said those things, if they weren't true. And then he says, they got into my head. Do you remember him saying that? And he says, I do. Turn the page. And then, of course, Fallon objects to that for some whatever reason. I don't know.
Because he's an asshole.
Because he's a turtle lip.
It seems like every time the defense finds something and hits on something that is kind of important or even very important, Fallon objects.
Of course.
Yeah. But
that's his job.
It was exactly the same in Stephen's case on Otto. As soon as the defence has Jerry and that brought up something, Kratz and Fallon were jumping on it right on the tap of it and objecting to fucking everything. I mean, since we've read the transcripts and done the transcripts of the whole Stephen Avery court case, I've got so much more respect for Dean and Jerry. But the simple fact is the trouble that they had even just trying to get important things across between the judge and fucking ass-face Kratz and everything like that, it was impossible for them. So when it came to Brendan, I don't understand why his defence didn't push more on the fact of this, that the last 20 minutes of that fucking video, because I think that would have helped him a lot.
Yeah. Down his backstage, honey.
I mean, don't get me wrong. I do believe he still would have gotten. I do believe he still would have been found guilty anyway. But it at least the jury will have had all of the information rather than just pieces picked and chosen by the prosecution. Yeah. I mean, it seems to me that, like Cherie was saying, it got a bit emotional and they didn't want that being shown. That's exactly the reason why they should have shown it.
Yeah.
They should have shown the kind of psychological duress that Brendan was being placed under, and yet, you know, they kept him in there. Oh, well, you know, they tell the world that Barb didn't want to be there. My argument is that Barb's comments, have you been pressuring the boy, it would suggest to me that she did indeed want to be there, but that they kind of kept her out. Now, the jury should have seen that.
Isn't that their whole job, Wiz? That's their whole job in the defense, to find a reason for them not to believe this confession.
Absolutely right.
So that would be the first freaking thing. The boy's thinking on his own. He has his mother there. He feels safe. We all see this. I'm sure his defense team can be that goddamn ignorant not to see this shit. They just fucking did this. They worked for the state. I am completely convinced that everybody that was there for Brendan wasn't. They were there for the state. The state
They failed them from the fucking bottom to the top, and they're still failing them now, including Governor Evers. I mean, all I see about Governor Evers is he keeps saying that he's there for the people. He's there for the kids and everything like that. Well, I'm sorry, but Brendan's one of his fucking kids, and he's done nothing for that laddie. Nothing whatsoever.
Evers is a gobshite.
Well, you know, if you look at it, Governor Evers has to please the people, correct? So, in his way of I guess what I'm saying is Brendan's convicted. We all know he's innocent. We know he didn't do a goddamn thing except for try to help or whatever, and he didn't even realize what he was doing. That's what I think, okay? But the state and them look at it upon he's guilty of this. So therefore, he doesn't fit their criteria for clemency.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But if you look at actual innocence, okay, let's go to our Constitution. It says actual innocence is not enough to turn over a conviction. Screw us up the butt because that is such bullshit. I don't even understand it.
The very fact that that remains as part of the Constitution is a problem because it means that the government of America accepts that idea.
Bravo. Thank you. What do you mean innocence isn't enough to turn over a conviction? That should be the only reason.
That should be the only reason required to overturn a conviction. If they know he's innocent, how can you keep locking him up, pretending that he's been found guilty in a court of law?
Yeah,
it's wrong.
You gotta look at actual evidence. He would have to take the time to read Brendan's case. Is that too fucking hard for you? Because if you read it or if you looked at his and seen where they got to my head, what you a brick too? I mean, this following the path of fucking corruption is just beyond. It's beyond ridiculous. It's beyond any. I can't even find a word to tell you what I think of how they handle Brendan's case. I can't even come up with words. It's a bunch of bullshit.
But then even the courts after that, the appeal courts, the Supreme Court, the fucking armbank hearing, for them not to recognise that Wayne was coerced and what happened to him, no fucking evidence whatsoever that proves that laddie done anything. How are they not picking up on that? You know what I mean?
Okay, here's one for you that'll really, it'll slap you in the face when you hear it. If you look at the people for Brendan to be released and the people against it, it is 6-5. Brendan 6, the other 5. How do you still stay convicted and in there when you have 6 people saying you need to be out and only 5 saying no?
Yeah, but he's also got at least 250 experts on his side.
Oh my God,
saying that his confession was coerced. The detectives were wrong in what they were doing and the way that they were questioning him, the way they were treating him, the way evidence was taken. Everything like that is corruption, left, right, and centre. By all these 250 experts, the best in their field for around the fucking world. You know what I mean? But yet they still don't listen.
Look at, okay, I don't know if everybody knows who Seth Waxman is. But this is a lawyer who went to the Supreme Court and has won. Okay? Federal court. He has won. He is the only lawyer to do that 3 times, okay? You think that he's going to take all his credibility and his fucking name and trash it for a guilty kid who murdered and mutilized and all raped and all this? Do you honestly think that any one of them, Dr. Leo, any one of them, credible, very expert in their field, are going to waste their time writing something about a guilty person? Do they even look at that? Do they even look at their merits? No, they don't. Well, they just see this one thing.
This gets me about the judges on the on-bank. Now, the judges are the ultimate guardians of our legal system. These are the people who decide what is right and what is wrong with our systems. If they are happy to sit there and say that it is not their place to look at best practices or modern thinking, then you know how are you? What qualifies you to sit in that bench?
Yeah.
What is it about? Why are you so great at what you do that you are kind of point blank refusing to look at modern studies, modern kind of the learning of these matters? And if you think that it's not your job to go round and study these things, then you need to have a little look at yourself in the mirror, because actually that is exactly your job. Your job is to keep abreast of what's going on with legal matters. And if you seem to think that not examining the evidence, the physical evidence, of which there is kind of none, if you think that you don't have to look at that and kind of defend the Reed technique in its place, sorry, you are definitely the wrong fucking person on the bench.
Yeah, I was floored when I heard that there was 6-5. Oh my God, I'm on camera.
All right.
Oops.
Sorry, people. Sorry for that
All right.
one there. That was terrible.
So
Anyway.
moving on.
Yep. I know we could just feeling like that was.
You're fine. You're all fine. The next question he asks him is if he had a phone call. He had a phone call with John Dietering.
Really?
Yeah. So he's like, and who's John Dietering? I believe he's a police officer. What was the phone call about? And he said he thinks it was about getting some copies of some discovery. But he doesn't really remember, which is interesting because John Dietering is calling him about him. I don't know within who's getting what copies of discovery. So he must be getting copies of discovery from Kinjensky for whatever reasons. But that's an interesting kind of. So people are still trying to get more out of Brendan as far as that kind of stuff goes. And then of course he talks to the press because that's what he's there for, right?
Mr. Hollywood.
Yeah, I think he was an unofficial state's spokesman.
Yeah. Well, listen, he was a dumb one at that.
He was delivering what he was. I mean, after the March the 1st press conferences, Kratz realised he'd overstepped the mark. I mean, he knew he was overstepping the mark anyway, but he tried to make it look as though he was kind of repenting from his kind of sins there. Which is why they would have got Kaczynski to come in and do the dirty work for him. Because if it comes from Brendan's lawyer, then it must be true.
Yeah.
Yeah. Their whole defense, they never even went in with defense. They went in with, let's just fucking sock it to him. If he doesn't want to take the plea deal, we'll just go all the way.
Yeah.
We'll just cut off anything that makes it look like the kid was confessed or was coerced. We'll piece it together whatever way we can and leave certain things out just to make it look that way. That's what they did. That is what they did.
So
go ahead.
So he asked him if he reviewed tape 3 and then and made notes on it, and he said yes. Everything that the lawyer does, he's supposed to record and keep on file. So if he had a piece of scratch paper that he was making notes of, if you go into Brendan Talks Discord and into the post conviction, you'll actually see copies of these things, emails, and you'll even see a copy of a scratch paper that Kinjensky wrote things on. I can't read it because I can't.
It's Meow Scratch.
Yeah, it's cat scratch. But if you go, it is all there if you're ever interested in looking at it. So that's how. I'll just call him Robert. That's how Robert knows.
Yeah, it's not the good Ted Nugent cat scratch feeder either.
Yeah, no, it's not the good type of cat scratch feeder.
Yeah. Anyway,
But
hi
yeah.
Donna again.
Hi,
are you
sorry.
here now?
I'm
Okay,
listening,
glad you're here. Just checking with you, dear.
So
yeah, I'm good.
he asked him if he made any notion in his notes about Brendan saying they got into my head, and of course he doesn't, because that's important. Why would he?
Exactly. That
and then he asks him, do you think that would be something to investigate on a motion to suppress? And he said, I suppose it would have had some relevance, yes.
oh God. It would add a little relevance. Okay.
I guess it would be important to bring that up.
I think it'd be the most fucking important piece of evidence they had so far.
Yeah, which is funny. So on March 28th, your work on that day is a phone conference and TV interview with TV2, which is a TV station out there. And he said, right. And then he asks to look at Exhibit 230 or 323. And it's a statement he made to the press where he actually said,
yeah,
you make a statement to the press that this statement is the strongest and only piece of evidence, which is interesting that he made a statement like that, but then he doesn't really find it's relevant to note or anything.
Do you have
he's an incompetent fool. He really is absolutely fucking incompetent, and I think he was chosen because of that.
You're probably right, but for the defense of Stephen, not even Brendan, to go to the defense of Brendan and say, well, the first lawyer didn't do this. Please make sure you do this. You know, it's going to help and you totally ignore it about, throwing out you just let that bypass away, I mean, that's definitely not a defensive move. That is a prosecuting move. And
that's definitely neglectful on his part.
I mean,
he's been given a heads up and he still doesn't do anything about it. I mean, that is absolutely fucking ridiculous.
None of us are lawyers and we don't know, but we can see that they didn't use any defensive motivation here. It was all prosecutionally driven. So
now the next he asks him, well, on your review of evidence to date, did you come up with any physical evidence that corroborates with what Brendan said? And his answer is, of course, what we all would know is, not that I know of, not of a careful examination of the Avery compound. I think it's interesting that he calls it Avery compound.
Yeah, they did start calling it the compound for a while, which would lead people.
I'm kind of because and every time, now this is just my way of thinking, I guess, but every time I watch one of those documentaries on cults and stuff, they call they call the place that they all live a compound.
Waco.
I don't know. Yeah. So that kind of in my head, I was like, it's interesting that he chose the word Avery compound.
I think he was told to, Becca, just like the Fallon was told to say "sir" to Brendan to make it look like he was a man instead of a boy. And why Kratz used the words "little girl" instead of "woman."
Very clever use of
them
language.
Are all just little manipulative words that people will keep in their mind. You know what I'm saying?
They're trying to fix this image in the heads of the jurors. Brendan's the monster. Teresa's the little girl lost.
Yeah.
Yes.
But
I think as well, though, what's really important to understand is that Kaczynski thought Brendan was guilty.
Yeah.
Yes, he did.
And I think Brendan with him was literally, cycling up a hill from the get-go, wasn't he?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Definitely. Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah. He was fucked from the start. That boy didn't have a fucking chance.
He did
from
not.
The day he was arrested.
No.
If the lawyer could not pull out just that little bit that we are saying, we are mainly talking about here about getting to your head in the last few minutes of the confession not being seen. That's the only real defensive move they have to defend him, and they do not use it.
No, but I mean, it says a lot that even Stephen's lawyers are pulling his lawyers aside and saying, here, by the way, this never happened. You need to make sure this happens. That's fucking unbelievable.
Yeah.
And he still doesn't do it. You know what I mean? It's disgusting what that guy done to that Wayne. It is fucking disgusting what he done to that Wayne.
Yeah. Well, here's an important part. Go ahead, Becca. Read this next coming thing about the evidence.
Yeah, it's just illiterate. It's just basically nailing on the head exactly what we've been saying. Is this whole entire time is that he asks him, you know, was there no forensic evidence? And of course, his answer is correct in terms of DNA, fingerprints, things like that. Yes. So, you make a statement that if the judge throws out Dassey's confession, it would jeopardize the prosecution's case, right? That's interesting that he would.
Yeah. Yeah. No evidence.
And then he says correct. So forward to April, so March.
Oh, here we go.
And then no, April 5th, I believe. And then he says, you have a hearing coming up on May 4th. And he says, sure. So then he brings out Exhibit 324, which is also should be in the room. Wait, what happened?
You just jumped up just a little bit.
Okay.
There you go.
There we go. 324. Let's see. I have this highlighted. Okay. You state here that there are some techniques used here that are pretty standard and quite legitimate in terms of making the suspect feel police know everything, and the suspect should tell him because the police already know about it, right? And he says yes. So it's kind of weird to me how he goes back and forth between kind of doing a good job and not really, and trying to jeopardize the case. So it looks like he did bring up this, you know, like, well, the police do try to make you feel comfortable enough to give a false confession if you were, right? Okay, and have you ever consulted with an expert in confession cases? And of course, the answer is no. Did you consult with an expert on confessions in this case? And then or not prior to this case. And he said, in this case, and he said yes. He talked to a Dr. Thompson after talking to Drizzen and some other folks about possible references. So this is where he mentions that he did talk to Drizzen and a couple of other people about false confessions. So that's interesting to kind of put out there.
What, a 5-second phone call?
Yeah.
That he didn't take notes on? That he did not use the advice of? I mean,
Probably.
sorry to say, what are you doing it just for face? Just so you look like you did something in this case? Because as we know, you haven't fucking watched any of his confessions up to the point when you were fucking defending him. You weren't fucking using any of his defensive moves. So what did you do? Get up there and say, hey, I'm going to church tomorrow. I want to see you there. Bye.
Yeah, I'm interested in knowing.
Put a bow on it.
Yeah.
He wrapped him up, put a bow on it, and gave him to the prosecution.
Yeah,
absolutely.
I'm interested in knowing what kind of questions he actually asked them, or if he just said, "Hey, I have this kid. Yeah. He says he's given a false confession. What do you think?" Instead of like actually sitting down with them and saying, having like a list of questions and like, what can we do? So that's. I'm interested in knowing what kind of questions, but
I guarantee you that if Kaczynski had sent that videotape to Drizzen with that last 20 minutes on it, Drizzen would have been saying to him, no, that's coerced, you know what I mean? So because he don't even look through the evidence, he's not seen this, so he doesn't even know that that's there.
That's very interesting, Alice. Does anybody know that? Was it Making a Murderer that brought that out where we seen that? Because the jury didn't see it.
My understanding is that Steve Drizzen, when he was assigned to the case, he did have the full tapes.
Okay.
Because that's how he got Laura Nyrider in on the case too. Because she at the time, wasn't she a student at the time with him?
Yes, she was. Yeah. Yes, she wasn't even going to take that.
and she wasn't even interested in doing that kind of stuff.
Litigation.
And he said, well, I need to show you something, and sat her down and then showed her the full tape. And then that's when she decided to do that, because she saw how awful it was, right?
Yeah.
So he had the tape.
Okay, well,
it wasn't making a murder that brought that out.
Well, that's what I was wondering, because this is his post-conviction hearing, correct, that we're reading. And
so
which he was denied. And
let's see, this is 2007 when he was convicted, and so this is 2010.
So this would have been
3 years.
Insufficient of counsel, correct? Isn't that what?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. All right. So, can I just ask everybody on the panel, so far, what you're hearing, do you think this is plenty for insufficient lawyer and should be retried? I mean, I do. Personally, I do.
Ineffective counsel, yeah.
It shows so far that he had absolutely no interest in actually defending Brendan, and that he had more interest in talking to the press and making his career look better.
Yes. So
there were plenty of opportunities for him to take and try to make a better case for Brendan, and he just didn't do it.
Yeah, well, okay. I know I'm jumping the thing. I just wanted to know what their basis of not granting it that was. I don't remember. And because you know what I'm saying, it just infuriates me that any logical minded jury or lawyer or anything that's reading this or seeing this does not see that it was completely
well, you got to also recognize, and Kathleen Zellner said this about Steven's stuff, is that locally you're not going to probably get anywhere.
No, that's another reason why you should not go in front of the judge that convicted you. You should have to be able to have a new judge, because that's ass backwards.
Which I believe that's what this is Judge Fox, isn't it?
Yes, it is. Yes, it is.
And that's so you're not going to get, and I think they knew that. They just still needed to do.
I think that's human nature to think that the judge is not going to admit that he made a mistake on such a case as this.
Oh, absolutely. Why would he?
So why would you want to seek relief through the same judge that said, bye-bye, there's the key, guys, hang on to it for fucking 25 years? Why? I do believe, as I did in my short videos, that should be changed in our justice.
It should be changed. It should be changed. If they find that the court had some sort of problem with it, like ineffective counsel or whatever, then they need to do a whole completely different, different courtroom, probably. You know what I mean? Like,
well, yeah, like Graham says, he never handled a case like this. Well, no, but he did. But he was a plea deal guy. Konchensky was. That was their reasoning for getting him, and because he was one to make a deal, and he did have a confession, but it wasn't taped. But he didn't lose it either. He made a plea deal. You don't lose when you plea deal, whether you're guilty or not. It doesn't matter.
If he'd have made a plea deal, he would have been useful for something. And because it was Teresa Holt, the little girl lost, and versus the two monsters, he would have been seen as a hero because he got Brendan to accept the plea deal.
Right. And he does basically say that.
And I think you've got to think as well is that I would love to have been a fly on the wall in the conversations they'd had, because they didn't want Brendan, they needed Stephen. And if Brendan's case fell apart, if Kaczynski didn't get what he needed, where did that leave Stephen's case?
The
bigger picture was the bigger picture was always going to be Stephen.
Yep.
And that is the tragedy for Brendan, because
Brendan was used. They used Brendan as a tool to nail Stephen's cell door shut.
Yeah. And they did it.
Brendan was for. Now, this is where my anger stems from. They picked an innocent 16-year-old kid and threw his entire life away because Tom Kosurek could not say sorry to Stephen Avery. And I'm sorry, but that's what it comes down to.
Yes, you are right.
That's what it comes down to. They used Brendan Dassey. They threw him away. They didn't give a fuck what they had to do to get Stephen Avery, but they were going to go after Stephen. Come hell or high water. Brendan got in.
Well, look at what they did. Look at what they did to.
Well, no,
look at what they did to get out of the $50 million.
He was just he was a kind of circumstantial. He was on the periphery. He had nothing to do with it. But I think they marked him out. When O'Brien interviewed Brendan up at Crivets, I think he would have O'Brien would have had a good idea as
that's the motherfucker that changed the whole game.
He would have had a good idea. He would have gone back and said, "Oh, that Brendan, he's not so bright, you know."
Yeah, and he's easy to change because he changed his statement
where
right
I'm
there.
coming from.
Yes, 100%.
They would have known exactly how malleable Brendan could have been.
That's when they went after him.
He's like a ball of plasticine in their hands. They could mould him any way they wanted, and that's exactly what they done.
Yes. Well, you know, that my personal view has always been that the minute that tick, 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 tick interview, it drives me nuts. That's when he said, "Oh, I'm going to go back to the boys and say, this kid here, you can talk. You need to talk to him because he's easily swayed when he's alone. He's easily to please me when he's alone. Just a little bit of a loud voice, and it makes him change his ways within 2 minutes." That was the turning point for them to grab Brendan.
Any kind of threat, any kind of conflict, Brendan will kind of shy away from that. You can see that Brendan hasn't got it in him to be confrontational or kind of war in faction. It's not him. It's not in his nature. And so, you know, they would have looked at him and thought, fuck it, we'll use him. We'll get Stephen through him. Up until the beginning of March, they had fuck all. Nothing.
Yep.
And so they felt, and this is Kratz directed the investigation to go after Brendan.
Yeah, and like Graham says, he lost the case because he didn't get Brendan to plead.
There's no way on this earth.
I was talking about Pryor.
Would ever allow that to happen to a kid like Brendan. So the instruction had to come from either Kratz or Pagel. And I think it was Kratz. Kratz gave them the order, go and get Brendan.
Yeah.
Because they had nothing else. They were getting desperate.
They didn't even have the bullet until after they had Brendan on his last confession.
They had nothing.
They had
absolutely nothing. But I've said for the very beginning and all, they were sussing Brendan out for the beginning. These wee interviews and that they were doing, they were sussing him out.
Yeah.
To see how malleable he could be. And as soon as they done that, they knew, because as I've said before, when it came to Brendan didn't pick up on a lot, but he picked up on the tone of their voice.
Yes, that was it. Because when what's his name raised his voice a little, Brendan changed when the tick tick guy, I can't never remember his name, but you know who I'm talking about, that interviewer, that cop. When he raised his voice, okay, well, you either did or you didn't, Brendan. Tell me. See, that's when he said, "Oh, yeah, well, I wasn't looking that way." Well, the other guy seen him. What do you mean you didn't see him? Well, maybe, yeah. You know? Well, I mean, that's all they did. Raised his voice just a little. Didn't have to threaten him. Because I like to say, Brendan never, ever questioned authority. He was brought up to be respectful. So why would he try to go against them guys? Never.
Exactly. And I mean, especially when they're turning around and they're asking him a question and then he's giving them an answer, but because it's not the answer that they wanted, and they're like, well, we know that that's not true, Brendan, you know, and then when he does say something that they've put into his head or whatever, they're like, well, why did you not say that, Brendan? And he's like,
because I couldn't think of it?
Because I couldn't think of it. Oh,
that's the thing too.
I didn't say it because you haven't put that idea in my head yet.
Thank you. Okay, okay, Becca, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Oh no, you're
we
fine.
get to going on this. You know what I'm saying?
No, it's 100%. That's why I have you all here.
I can make it go sideways. You know, right into something right
Oh, you
else.
and me
'Cause
both,
No.
Jill.
No. You're all doing.
I don't consider myself an intelligent person. I have, you know, if you're talking book years, I've got a 7th grade education. Okay, so for me to just sit back and see this, you know, like I said, it was a doorknob put in front of my face. Whether I turned it and went in there and changed my complete whole entire life, it was up to me. It wasn't the documentary. So now that I've done that and I see this, and it looks like a 2-year-old, if they were explained, do you see something bad here or do you see something good here? What is different in this picture? A 2-year-old would be able to tell you. Why can't these legally voted in such experts tell you?
It doesn't matter what education that you've got, whether you're a dropout or a Harvard law student or whatever. Anybody looking at this case properly, or Brendan's case properly, can see by the fucking off that it was a load of bullshit, because they had fuck all until they got their hands on that Wayne. Plain, straight and simple.
Yeah. Well,
And
you know, they'll tell you. Oh, I'm sorry, Donna. Go ahead.
I was going to say, and you probably know, I would probably put money on that the en banc knew what the right thing, Hamilton probably knew what the right thing was to do, but it would have blown everything out of the water, wouldn't it?
They will, right. The problem with that is they're not interested in doing what's right. They're more interested in doing what's easy.
Because you don't know what judge owes what to what.
What they don't want to do is be the cause of a revolution in America that is going to take the justice system
political
and tip
suicide.
it upside down.
Political suicide.
Nobody wants to be the name on the list. No one wants their name on a piece of paper that says that this has all happened because of them.
Yeah,
exactly.
It will ruin their it will ruin their career. It will ruin their reputation. They will become an outcast in the legal profession. Right. So no one wants to do it.
That's why it goes back to Governor Evers, isn't it? Is that he got the spine to do it?
No,
and if
he won't.
Does,
no, political suicide.
Yeah,
he's
and if he did do it, it probably in the last few months or weeks of his.
Oh, it would be one of the last things he does.
Yeah.
But I can guarantee you, he's not going to do it.
I don't think he will, though.
No, I doubt it.
That's why they have those protocols, or how you fit into this parole board thing, which is also leadership, Mr. Call. Okay, Josh Call, whose son? Peg Lockschlager's son. Yeah. And she will, for the death of him, will stand up for what his mother started. He's said it a million times. So we're getting into Hamilton must have been in on something somewhere along something in order for him to twist it around to make it look like Laura Knight Rider was trying to change protocol, which, by the way, you should want to do, because you would be moving forward in things. So where's the bad there?
Shocking.
Sorry, get really
You're
going
fine.
when it comes to that.
And these are the people that we trust with the guardianship of our justice system. Listen,
they're the ones we're supposed to trust.
It's just a matter of time before something like this happens to someone you know.
That's true.
You know, only thing I can say is when they opened the door for this to me, it made me look at so many other things in anything that falls within law enforcement. You know what I'm saying? Like how people are trained, and what qualifies as a defense lawyer or a prosecutor, and do they go for true word of the law and how it's supposed to work out, or are they just trying to pattern their seats and their, have it, their name in lights, so to speak, in their genre of people, you know what I mean? And the links, there is nothing. These people don't have an ethical nerve. They don't have a moral compass. And if they ever did, that son of a bitch is now a Polish watch, okay? The compass turned to a watch because they're assholes. They'd have no regard to anybody's life. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter if it was Sean, if it was me, if it was Donna, Becca, anybody in the chat. It does not matter. Like they said in trial 4, it didn't matter who I was. Just as long as I was a person they could fucking pin it on. You're right. Hello, thank you.
So, just to move this along.
I'm so sorry.
It's okay.
Shut up.
No, it's fine. I just wanted to hit at least these next couple pages before we end this. So, let's see, where was I left off of? So he asked him, so prior to he did say, so prior to the suppression hearing, you had not okay, I can't say that word right now, consulting or calling any kind of an expert. And he says, well, not on the issue of characteristics of a false confession. There's obviously the need to bring in the underlying evidence of Brendan's intelligence level and so forth with his school records and some psychological evidence. That sort is one of the many factors a judge has to consider on the motion to suppress. So I thought that was interesting. He did ask him a long-winded way of asking him, or consulting with an expert on interrogation techniques or as it relates to voluntarism. And then he gives this long answer that I felt the first half wasn't as important, but he at the end said, I didn't document it anywhere. And then he says, but I didn't think it was possible to find a witness that would say Brendan could not have understood his Miranda rights given, his mental status. So that's bullshit. But because you could bring in any psychologist or somebody that works with kids or with education or anything like that. He could have brought in the people that he said that he called, like even Steve Dresden. He could have called him and said, hey, can you come in and testify about this? Anybody that he tried, he could have had done that. So he asks him, so what you're saying is that you considered it, but you rejected it, basically. And he says, yes, I didn't think it would be effective on the suppression issue, which is awful. I mean, that I would have, even if it wouldn't have been effective, I still would have brought it up, I feel like.
Oh my God.
You know what I mean?
So much to say about this.
Even as a professional in some sort of stuff that I do, like if I had I'm a caregiver, so if I had you have to one of my clients, What? Linda?
Linda, low budget, has had to go and put $1 in the meter.
Okay, so I was just gonna say, if I'm a caregiver, and if one of my clients had COVID, and even though it may not have been effective to do vitamin C treatment, why not do it? You know what I mean?
Look, when you're fighting something like that, you use every tool at your disposal.
Exactly.
Thank you.
Every tool.
Yes. There's 2 points right there. Yeah, I know.
So,
Linda low budget working at its best. Woo woo.
So
or not working, as the case may be.
I gotta promote my shit,
if I was Brendan's lawyer and I was sitting across from the 16, 17-year-old kid who was like, I'm innocent, I swear to you, I would do everything tooth and nail to try to get this kid home.
Well, that was
if Brendan even did that, Becca.
That we
he did though.
He did.
Okay, because I don't
provide that exact same service what you've just described there.
Exactly. Your job is
once your client says he didn't do it, it is your job. You've got a duty, a responsibility to fight that boy's case.
Now,
yes.
Even
Every
if you
time
know
Pratt-
you're going to lose, you still got to fight that case.
Every time Led Kaczynski talked to his client, even though it was briefly or far and in between, Brendan said, I want to take a polygraph test. He was proclaiming his innocence. Even if Brendan, though, wasn't, even if Brendan was mute, you need to do everything that you possibly can for your client. That's why you're there.
Course. Yes. Agreed.
But yeah, Brendan was saying, I'm innocent. I didn't do it. I was lying during that or whatever, you know, and I want to take a polygraph test. That's how sure I am that I didn't do this, and I'm telling you the truth.
Right. I agree.
So, yeah. The next part, so he's basically saying that he didn't think it would be effective, and then Robert asks him, the definition of psychological coercion is, and what are the tactics are coercive or not coercive. And his answer is, based on what was in the tape and sort of tactics I observed there, I didn't think there was an expert that was going to basically, and then they interrupt each other, but yeah, basically, he didn't think there was going to be an expert that was going to testify, which is bullshit again, because you have people that you called beforehand to ask questions, that's what I mean by what questions did you think you were asking? Yeah. So March 29th, he did another press conference with the press, which was like 45 minutes. Or no.
Wasn't that way after he was removed?
Huh?
Or was that after Brendan's? Was that after Brendan tried to dismiss him?
Maybe. He didn't bring it up in this part of the questioning.
Jazz, do me a favor, Mr. Monitor or Darkside. Copy and paste that link I put in here because I forgot I'm not a monitor on my own channel and I can't post links. But would you please post that, because that's for Brendan Talks Discord only. Discord, all 100% about Brendan. And join if you haven't, and come back in and continue the rage and the rant, because all this information, everything we're talking about right now is in that Discord. You can read it for yourself. You can read other things. You can get it all. You can get as pissed off as we are.
Can I ask a question about this thing with Kaczynski and Brendan? Just one question, which I've never found the answer to, but I'm sure your seasoned supporters will know. What was the pinnacle point that Brendan decided to get rid of Kaczynski? Was it Barb? Where did that come from? Because obviously Brendan's not a kind of confrontational person.
It was when Brendan was given the plea deal from Kaczynski and told him that you sign this and you could do less time, whatever. And he told his mother, Barb, and Barb said, he thinks you're guilty. Yeah. And he said, yeah, I know. And he said, oh, that was it. So yes, a combination of both. Kaczynski,
it was basically
the plea deal, and Barb saying, absolutely not. You cannot say you're guilty for something you never did.
Barb has always said, Brendan, you can do what you feel like.
Right.
You need to
she
do.
did
Even
say
to
that.
This day.
Yes.
Even to this day, she'll say him that. She'll tell him that you do whatever you do. But as a mother, I'm telling you, if you're not guilty, then you need to fight for your innocence.
Yeah, 100%.
Yes.
Thank you.
So that's where that started too. So definitely.
And Grandpa,
that was the day after
Grandpa went and raved.
That was the day after he had the visit from Wigger and Fassbender.
Yes.
After he gave O'Kelly the confession.
Yes.
That was the phone call where he asks his mum, what does consistent mean?
Yep.
Yeah.
And she could, and honestly, I do not know this for a fact, but if Barb didn't understand that question then too, like, I don't know a lot. Like I said, my education is limited as far as books go. So a lot of word meanings, I don't know. I mean,
Well, I think that's how the conversation went, is that he said, Mom, what does inconsistent mean? And she said, oh, I don't know, honey, or something like that.
Yeah. You know, she's worried about her kid, and he's like, well, if it doesn't match, no, if it's something, I don't remember his explanation for it, but regardless, when you go in front of a judge and you tell them, I want another lawyer because he thinks I'm guilty. Now, again, you're talking to a child who has a hard time questioning authority because he was raised to be respectful and raised to understand these are people of authority. You don't do this. You know, in school, he was taught that. It must have been something like that to him. So you're going in front of a judge when you have a hard time with language and all this and getting the guts enough to say that you think your lawyer thinks you're guilty. That's enough reason. Sorry to mother hell say, that's a fucking enough reason to get a new lawyer. If they didn't give me another lawyer, I'd be ranting. I would be screaming.
Yeah.
But no, Brendan goes,
and much to Brendan's credit, you know, being a kid, non-confrontational, not understanding fully what's going on.
He was bravo.
Sitting in front of the judge, trying to articulate why he wants a different lawyer. Like, you know, he did a really good job with what he had.
Oh my gosh, my hat's off to him. That's why I say that. Here's a kid who doesn't question authority at all, but he's going to do it because he desperately needs somebody to say, hey, they're not helping me here. I need somebody who believes in me. Nobody 100%. Believes in me. Yeah. You know, can you imagine being a child? I can put myself there and say, please, somebody believe in me. Oh my God, only person I have is my mom, and she can't do nothing legally. So somebody please help me. It was him reaching out the best way he could. And they slapped him in his goddamn face. And I'm pissed off. I'm sorry, but it breaks my heart.
On that note, we're going to end because it's been an hour.
Yes. I'm so sorry. I just took it over. I just take bits.
No. That's why I enjoy having you guys on here. So you guys are all very opinionated. You're all very intelligent.
Sorry if I took over, guys.
No, you didn't take over.
To my guests, I apologize, Donna, Sean.
Stop.
Alice, who probably was going to tell us how she felt today.
Nobody accept that apology because Linda doesn't have to apologize. So anyway.
It's just part of my personality. ADHD is my friend.
But yeah, so we're actually gonna stop here because I actually have to drive. To do. Yep, I have to drive 2 hours. So
you're gonna go see Stacy, correct?
No, I'm gonna go visit my friend Tina in Prescott, and we're gonna go mini brand shopping.
Oh, get out of here! Goodbye.
Yeah, first thing I'm obsessed with is Brendan Dassey in this case. You can ask a few people. Some of them even call me a stalker. And then second thing is
check out Becca's channel. Brands. Check out Alice. I don't know if you can get it or not, or maybe yours, or maybe.
Oh, yeah. I mean, if you
check out Becca's YouTube channel. She has gift openings of little brands. She has a little store that she's built. It's so cute. You guys got to go see it. So subscribe to Becca. What is it? Becca Nash, right?
It's just Becca Nash. Yeah.
Becca Nash. There you go. Goes. If you don't, you're going to have to talk to me. If you don't think this is a good channel, it's so cute. If you don't get addicted to this.
But
so
so 2 things also. Today is Be Brendan Brave, which is the Pokemon theme. It's also Pokemon Day. Pokemon came out 25 years ago today. This is one of Brendan's favorite topics is Pokemon. So if you haven't sent Brendan a letter or a card, you know, you can go, I suggest, and this is just my thoughts on it, you can go on moonpig.com, create a Pokemon card, and send it to Brendan, and he will literally love that. That will be awesome. And you wish him a happy Pokemon Day. And
happy
then March 1st is on Monday. There are 2 very important things that are happening on Monday. Well, 3. March 1st is the anniversary of when all this nonsense started for Brendan, when he was interrogated for 4 hours and he never came home. So because of that, I'm running a campaign. It's the tattoo campaign, temporary tattoo campaign. Let me go grab a link to.
I'm getting my tattoo.
When did they actually take
Florida?
him out?
Going to Florida next Tuesday. So we'll film me getting my tattoo, but I will be there on March 1st.
When did they actually take Brendan out of class? Was it the 27th or the 28th of February?
The 27th, I believe.
Yeah.
27th, yeah.
So he's been in custody 15 years today.
Yes. Or no. No. He was questioned in school on February 27th.
Right.
He was taken from school on March 1st. So he's been in custody since March 1st.
That also happens to be the day my father died. So it's a very, very sad day for me all the way around.
Yeah. But that's why March 1st is a very profound day for Brendan. It's the day that he never came home. It's the day when all this started.
28th was Fox Hills.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah. So there were other days where he was questioned, but this was the day. Let me try to figure this out.
I just want to say.
Share this. Oh, there it goes. And then here's the link to the March 1st event that I'm hosting with Linda, and then there's Michelle, Vernon, and even Barb is hosting it with us.
Yes.
If you want to join that, if you click on that link I just posted, and then you click going to it, on March 1st, if you have a temporary tattoo that I sent you, if you don't, please make a free Brendan Dassey sign and take a picture with it.
Draw on it, or draw a tattoo, anything
that you can do, and then post a picture on the page, on the event page under discussion. Post a picture there. Everything, all pictures and comments that you post, I'm going to be printing off and sending them to Brendan and also to Governor Evers.
I am so excited about this, considering I'm the one that just blurted it out. Let's have a tattoo party. I didn't really even, And Brenda, you and Becca, you have made it happen. Thank you so much.
That's what we always say in here is that if you have an idea and you don't think it's a good idea, still bring it to one of us.
Yeah.
And if we will make it happen. Like, this was not that hard to make happen. Any idea, any good positive idea that you have to help support Brendan, as long as we go through the proper channels and all that, if Brendan's okay with it, if Barb's okay with it, we can do it.
Yeah, so a lot of people don't know that Brendan does approve what we do.
Yeah, everything that we do on this channel, Brendan's 100% behind.
Yep.
A lot of everything that I do, I take it to Brendan first.
Yep.
So.
Or Barb, or Brendan first.
Yeah, or Barb. Yeah.
We are family oriented. We're totally family oriented. Yes. I want to thank all these people, Becca. Please, everybody, thank you so much for.
Okay, hello. Thank you, Sean. Thank you, Alice. Thank you, Donna. Thank you, Linda. I see Sammy in the chat. Thank you. Thank you, Shaken Not Stirred. Cian, Dark Side, Naz, Jazz Naz, Graham. I see Carolyn in there. Hi. I didn't get to see the chat while I was talking. Yours. I know Jinxie was probably out there. I don't know if she still is. Thank you, everybody, for your constant support of our channel, of our Discord.
Thank you. You're welcome. A pleasure always.
Everything. Yeah, of everything that we do for Brendan. Thank you so much. And yeah, don't forget March 1st event. Also, Tracy Keogh posted recently that she's doing an event on March 1st if anyone's interested. It's if you go to Brendan Dassey Project's YouTube page, or if you're in one of the groups she's in, she's doing a phone-in thing where she's trying to get people to phone in to Governor Evers on March 1st. So if you're in America and you can do that, you know, that's something you can do too, to consider doing. And that's all I can think of. Linda dropped out, but yeah. Just thank you for showing up, and we will see you all next Saturday. Same time, same place.
Oh, thank you, everybody.
Thank you.
Bye.
Yep. Bye, everybody.
Bye.